Greetings YouTube, welcome back to the Meta channel. Now of course this is the second part of the collaboration video between me and Team Crushing the Meta, and in this video we will be continuing on where we left off, which is the Dudley Emperor part. There's still like a very good chunk of Emperor stuff that I did not put in the last video because it's almost at the 20-minute mark and I do not want it to be too long. We will also be talking about some of the deck options. Me and D-Boy will be giving you a sample deck list on just to get you started, as well as maybe talk a little bit about what are the implications that this choice will give to the deck. With that being said, do enjoy the video. It is not really a optimal idea to run Rising Nova with Dudley Emperor because you're just basically wasting space. Both Rising Nova and Dudley Emperor has a different game plan. Dudley Emperor is much more towards like you just call whatever cards. Of course there are some restrictions, but not as restricted as Rising Nova. For Rising Nova is a little bit different because you want to call out your grade 3s so that Rising Nova himself could copy them. For Emperor it's a little bit different. You just call to basically bash your opponent's face, right?
Yep. And that's what you do, is when you play Rising, you could see some of those grade 3s chilling on the field, like Bull Spike, like Spiking Cyclone, or even Lucifer himself. But with Emperor, you will actually find yourself having sometimes a back row of Emperors, because the Emperors chilling in the back row will still give that power. You will still have that power, but there is just no way to using this with the Rising, and that's the good thing. Because that's what we wanted. We wanted a Dudley deck. We wanted a sub-clan as it was supposed to be pure Dudley. And that's what we got.
Thank you Bushiro for giving us a second deck after almost 2 years. Thank you. So after the 3 cards, that is not only the 3 new cards that was actually being revealed, we also have the grade 3 heal trigger. Some might be a little bit skeptical on the implications that you could play with the Dudley deck, but after some play testing, I actually never played this grade 3, so I don't really know much about this grade 3 heal trigger because I'm still playing with a grade 0. So my initial reaction to this grade 3 heal trigger is that one of the concerns that I have is if you G assist and you G assist into this card, it's gonna suck really bad. So I mean, it does give you like a very good defensive turn. It's basically a 25k shield, a 5k more shield than the typical heal trigger, and it also could -2 crits from one of your opponent units, which is absolutely nice. For me myself, I don't really see much use of it, but maybe D-Boy you have some ideas on it because you did play test with this card.
The first thing that you said is, I think that's what most people would think right away, is you could G-assist into it. But remember guys, when you G-assist, or now it's called assist, when you assist and you check the 5 cards, if this is the only card that you will find in the 5 stack, you don't have to choose it. It will be there, but you also say I don't want, and then you put them back and you shuffle. If it's not in there, then it's just the normal heal trigger that you have in your 5 stack. So it doesn't really make a difference if it's this card or this card. You could still choose not to ride it. It doesn't take out your other grade 3 slots. It's just an extra card that you add in there. So for that reason, I don't think that people would say we don't want to play it. There's one downside to this card, comparing it to the original Evil being Adelaide or Tiara, or we don't have other ones for one of these two, is that this card has 5k less shield. That's the most important factor that you would not play it. The important factor into it are multiple things. First of all, when you go second, you get this card. You could put your Vanguard at 10k extra during the whole turn when you guard with it because it gives the extra 10k. You could stop a very strong attack. Let's say you're playing against DP rides into their big ass grade 3 and they get force 2 and they use the ability, they get plus 20k and a crit, then they could hit you for 3 damage. If they could drive check a crit, they could hit you for 4 damage, but you take 2 out and they hit you for 1 or 2 damage. That's okay. So you could take out 2 of their crits. And we're not talking about premium, we're just talking about V premium. But the most important thing about this card is the fact that it is a grade 3. Meaning, you could search it with Acrobat Verdi, you could put it on the field, you could ambush Dexter, discard into 2 Juggernauts. you could ambush Dexter this card into 2 Emperors. You could ambush Dexter this card into Emperor and Lucifer and get the counter charge. It's such a stupid combination that you do. Just it being a grade 3 changes a lot of things. Because we sometimes find ourselves having a Bull Spike into our hands, or a Lucifer, or a Emperor, or whatever grade 3 that we want to use with Ambush Dexter, but at the same time we don't want to lose that card that we put into the soul. We actually want to keep that card. But with Ambush Dexter you have to take out one of your grade 3s, but all of your grade 3s are not disposable, so you could actually just take out this heal and then you just put the other grade 3s on the field. It's good. I mean, you're giving 15k shield, sure, but it's still fine. So for me, I actually had the same idea at the start. I think this is maybe more of a premium card, not a V premium card. But then I started testing with it and I said, whoa, this card with Ambush Dexter and Acrobat Verde is actually way better than I expected.
Looks like we're gonna have a lot of uses, and it's not just a dead card or maybe another dead trigger. Looks like we're gonna have a lot of implication and could possibly see a much more interesting play, and of course some very special interaction with some of the cards that we have. If we look at the reprints, we have Acrobat Verde, Rona, as well as Dexter. Not the best reprints in my opinion.
I think when they reprinted this, the thoughts that Bushiroad had is, we now have the Dudley deck, right? So what cards could you play in your Dudley deck? And yes, these are the 3 cards that you will add to your Dudley deck, right? These are exactly the 3 cards that you add to the Dudley deck. Maybe with Commander Yay Cannon, but they already reprinted that, so they would not reprint it again. So I think for that, they did good. But then, I mean, we have all these 3 cards in SP.
Yeah, as you notice, if you look really closely at the top, at the deck list before, all of our things is already blinged out. So
there is for us players that are dedicated to play Spike Brothers, which are most Spike Brother players. You don't find somebody playing Spike Brother player who is not dedicated to the clan. This will do nothing for them. They should have added a Bull Spike. I mean, we need a Bull Spike. I mean, I have enough, you have enough, but lots of people don't have Bull Spike. And I know it's a VR, I know it should not be reprinted, but just reprint Bull Spike for people who really want Bull Spike.
Oh no! Anyway.
But I think the reprints are good for the sets. Like, you only need the old Dudleys, you need this set, and you're set to go. You need triggers and you're good. Because that's everything that you need, and then it's good. But if you really talk about they could have done better reprints, they could. In my eyes, they could have reprinted crits and a draws and being a triple R foil, and I would be happier.
we just wanted to have the dream of fully blinked out the deck. Oh dear.
It's okay, he wants to join it. Thing that I actually would like to say about the heal is that when you go second, that's when the heal is mostly effective, right? Because your opponent will go to grade 3 first. And that's also when you could Acrobat Verde into the heal and then discard your quick shield. So that's a very easy combo. So you Acrobat Verde right on your starter, use the starter skill, draw, get a quick shield, and then use Acrobat Verde. If you have this in the top 5, get this to your hand, discard the quick shield, and then your quick shield becomes this beautiful, amazing shield that you will use 2 turns later. So that's a very good one to remember.
Okay, so this is basically all of the Dudleys that we have in the deck. So we have a total of 6 at this point. So most likely, all of this card you will want to run at 4, meaning that we will have a total of 24 cards. Of course, if we do include the 16 triggers, that's gonna be 40. And of course, the 1 starter is gonna be 41. So with this in mind, we only have 9 or 10 spots left, depending on if you want to run lesser Mason or not. But let's go with 9 in this scenario. So we're just gonna go through some of the sample deck lists that me as well as D-Boy playtest and basically came out. A small disclaimer is that this deck list might not be the most meta deck list for Dudleys because it's just out like what, slightly more than 24 hours. There's still a lot more playtests and there's still a lot more fine-tuning that we can do to this deck. It may have some other uncharted territory of the Dudley's potential power that we have not unlocked. So this is what we have to get you started. So for the grade 2, we have of course the obvious choice, Rona. key implications for Rona in this deck is, of course, to not only search for Emperor or Lucifer, she herself can also be a secondary right target if you don't get Davy. I mean, of course, you don't really get Emperor skill off, but you still get a free attacker as well for basically no cost.
So the thing is with Rona is there very important fact about her is she's not a Dudley, and that's really good because that would mean that Dudley Emperor skill will not activate, which means that your regards will not go to the bottom of your deck. So that's a good thing, her not being a Dudley. Second thing is she could always boost because she could still boost a grade 3. And the most important thing is that you don't waste your Davy. You want your Davies in your hand if you want to extend your combos with cards like Lucifer, with cards like even Mason himself, because Mason also called from hand. So sometimes you actually want that Davy in your hand, or you want to call it up later to get an extra attacker, because Davy could always still get Daisy, and Daisy with one Soul Blast could get you something. And with one call, one counter blast, you have 3 Regards on the field. So having the Rona as an extra right target is really good, and I think it's the only card as a grade 2 that you want to add to the deck. Maybe you could add Spruits, but I don't think it's necessary.
So how many pieces do you reckon you put into this deck?
When I build my decks and I have grade 2 lineup, I like to go between 10 and 12. So that would mean 10 or 11 because we have lots of good grades. For me, I will add only 2. So it is just the 10 grade 2 lineup with 2 extra Rona. If you get her, it's good. If you don't, Davy's good as well. You have 10 grade 2s, 6 of them are right targets. 6 right targets is perfect. How about you?
I actually play a slightly more. By slightly more, I mean it's just an extra 1 piece. I mean, it's not going to be the most game-breaking out of all because I still find Rona really useful because of the fact that you can superior call Lucifer out for basically 1 soul is actually really good, as well as Lucifer is pulling his weight big time. Dudley Lucifer is, I mean, he's not really pulling his weight in the Rising deck. I mean, is still not there yet, but in this deck, I'm telling you, Dudley Lucifer is working overtime.
Dudley Lucifer is like a bridge. He comes in between. So you could Rona into Lucifer, you could ambush Dexter the Lucifer into 2 Emperors, and it does cost you only 1 counter. So the Lucifer is an important in-between combo piece that you could end the combo with, so you have a counter charge for next turn, or you could put him in between to get the counter charge back. You could also like Rona into Lucifer, ambush Dexter the Lucifer into Emperor and Lucifer, and you keep getting those counter charges back. You have the 2 counter blasts for your big turn. I mean, Lucifer, SP, beautiful card, really good skill. The Vanguard and the Vanguard skill works really good in this deck.
So with the addition of Rona in I guess 2 or 3, I think we only left with 7. So if we are following the D-Boys deck list, that is only left with 9. If we put the 2 Rona, that leaves us at maybe 7 spots, depending on how you run. That is, this is just basically me and D-Boy's idea. Okay, so for the great ones, of course, we're gonna have to put in Acrobat Verdi. Now, before that in Rising Nova deck, I don't really like running this card because once you get the first Rising Nova, because every single time I play Rising Nova, I always get him in the hand. I don't know why. And then Acrobat Verdi does not really pull his weight for me at least. I do run a lot of grade 3s. You could scroll all the way back and you see my deck list. I run 13 grade 3s. And for some reason, every single time, I always get him. Well, before I actually have my latest deck list, I actually run 2 Verdies. But then later on, I find out that I've been running out of Lucifer really quickly. So I basically take out the Verdi and put in 2 Wonder Boy. I think this Acrobat Verdi is pretty much self-explanatory. He helps guarantee you your right target. He helps guarantee you like maybe more grade 3s that you would want.
The Acrobat Verdi is also important because there are 2 ways to play the deck. There is the way to go Lucifer and there is the way to go Emperor. Emperor is everything on the field: attack, punish, destroy. Next turn, you may live. If you live, you do the same thing again. Then there's the way to go Lucifer. Lucifer is more chilled. Lucifer draws you a little bit more. And then turn after that, you Emperor. You Emperor on top of Lucifer, which means you have 2 markers to move around, and it becomes slightly better and easier to destroy your opponent. So if you kind of try to rush them, and then they ended up with having 1 or 2 heals, and they go back to 0 damage or 1 damage, we have seen that. We have seen you rush into 3 damage, and then they last damage, they get heal trigger, and then they drive check in their turn, they go to 1 damage. And you'll be like, boy, I rushed for nothing. At that point, you could go Emperor, but Emperor could do like 5, maybe 5 attacks, and they could take 3, they could even take 4, they could even, like, they only guard 1, so you will not destroy them. So that's sometimes you just go to Lucifer, and then the next turn you go to Emperor, and you don't minus yourself. So Verdi give you the ability to choose which way you want to. Second important thing is you want to get as much Emperors to your hand as you can, because you could call Emperor as a very, very good Vanguard, chilling in the back row or attacking in the front row. So Verdi is an important card. You could play him at 4 or at 3.
I guess 3 or 4, it's fine. I mean, he's not really going to change like a very game-breaking or deck-changing card. He's just there to kind of like participation award.
Make the deck more consistent.
Yeah.
I actually started up with 4, but now I play him at 3, which you will see later.
Alright.
So I have the same idea as you. 3, 4.
So with that said, we're only like 3 spots left in the deck, maybe 4, if you're running 3.
Yeah, depends.
Yeah, it depends. So the other great one that you would want to run, of course, is gonna be Dexter. Dexter is just too good. This is one of the cards in Spike Brothers that actually benefits you. By putting 1 grade 2 and above rearguard, you're able to search out 2 of the same grade, which means you can actually put in maybe a no longer useful Lucifer on the rearguard to the soul to call 2 Emperor, or maybe 1 Emperor and 1 Lucifer to refund the cost.
And the thing is with Ambush Dexter, I knew right away that this will make Lucifer better, or Lucifer will make Ambush Dexter better. The 2 cards synergize really well together. It's because of the fact that when you call Lucifer as a rearguard, it becomes useless after it's could countercharge, and you already creating the soul with Ambush Dexter himself. This also makes the heal better, as we said before, because it's a grade 3, you can put it into your soul very easy, and it's really, really, really good. One of the important things about Ambush Dexter as well that some people actually don't really think about anymore is he's a good ride target as well. So you could ride into him because you don't want to ride into your Dudleys. Even Dudley William is a good ride target, and this deck has Ambush Dexter, it has Acrobat Verdi, it had Dudley William. All of them are really good ride target. So just discard that quick shield, get rid of it, and draw a new card. It's good. I mean, why not? But in my eyes, Ambush Dexter gives you what Bermuda could not do with creating those grade 3s on the field just like that. And this is what Ambush Dexter. One very, 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 very funny fact is that when you play against people who played this game for a very long time and they don't know about Dexter, when you call Dexter, you put 1 grade 2 or grade 3 into your soul and you get 2 new ones, they will look at you like this. Huh? Would Spike do that? Yes, Ambush Dexter could do that. And they think, since when did Spike became a clan that pluses instead of minuses? And I'm like, since now, because we have Ambush Dexter.
I think when we talk about this card, we only left with 3 spots, so this is of course easily going to be a 3. I mean, of course, depending on how many Acrobat Verdi that you would run, because this card could easily go up to 4, right?
And if you play only 2 Rona, I would play this at 4. If you play 3 Rona, then you could play this at 3. Because you have to think about your counterlasses. I find myself finding this card more effective than Rona, but some people actually like Rona more. So pretty much up to you to choose. I would play 6 copies of the 2 cards, being 3 on 3 or 4 on 2. Pretty much up to you.
And that is all for this part. do stay tuned for the third part and the final part of this collaboration video series together with Team Crushing the Meta. Of course, we will still be covering some other options of the deck that you could run together with your Dudley deck. And of course, we are going to go through to some of the frequent asked questions that we think of. Two that we think of, and another two is by you guys, the fans. So do stay tuned for that, and hopefully you guys will stay and watch till the end. Thank you very much.